Hi guys, how's it going? This is Resident of Collingwood for YouTube, Resident_of_Collingwood for BitChute, and I'm here to continue my revisited tour of John Philip Betancourt's continuing blog series, The Return of Dark Shadows. Series 2, Chapter 5, The Beast. It was a night of dense fog that lifted up from the cold, blackened ocean rocks that crawled across the main shoreline. The smoke-like sea air surrounded the grounds of Collingwood like an alien presence creeping up around. Before, Alexandra, before her eyes, the handsome Christopher began to transform into a hideous beast she saw when trapped under Claudia's possession spell. He was the werewolf that Victor and Kimberly hoped would begin the destruction of the Collins family again, in body, soul, blood, and bones. As Christopher began to change, his body twisted and contorted in every direction. His feet became massive paws with claws so sharp they could slice a human in two with one swipe. But his eyes remained the same kind, warm eyes Alex had fallen in love with. Those were Christopher's eyes. Christopher's breath was heavy. A growl vibrated from beneath his thick fur to the floor, reaching Alex's feet. "Chris," Alex said, voice trembling. "Chris, it's me. It's Alex," Alexandra continued, with one hand extended to keep Christopher's werewolf body at bay. The werewolf stood up on all fours, his human clothes ripped to the rags. Victor's syringe is still sticking up from his furry back. Christopher snarled at Alexandra, his breath shooting out from his nostrils like smoke from a chimney in the cold air. He howled a hideous, ravenous howl that was only broken by Carolyn's bursting through the front door with a rifle and shooting at him but missing. Alexandra turned and ran quickly behind her mother, who pointed the gun at Christopher, who howled again and dashed off into the distance, the night fog of Collinsports rolling in its wake. "Chris, I don't," Alexandra said in a confused panic and attempting to explain what just happened to the gun-wielding Carolyn. "Get inside quickly," Carolyn said, ushering her terrified daughter into the mansion. Once Alex was comfortable by the fireplace in the blue room, Carolyn picked up her phone and dialed Leopold. "Come quickly," she says in a serious voice, knowing that if there was a werewolf on the loose, it wasn't safe for anyone, much less its mortal enemy, the vampire. Back at the Blue Whale pub, Caleb tried to explain the odd and sudden exit Leopold had made, but it didn't seem like Kate believed it. As for Kimberly, her only disappointment was that Victor was nowhere to be found, and she was starting to grow anxious, waiting news of the plan they had. "It's getting late anyway. I think I should head back to Collingwood before Carolyn locks me out," Kimberly said half-jokingly, knowing Carolyn's distaste for her. Caleb, still angry at his mother, Kimberly about the affair she had on his father David with Victor, still felt a responsibility for her and offered her a ride home. "Thank you, I appreciate that," Kim responded tenderly. As Caleb paid the bar tab, Kimberly stepped outside waiting for Caleb and Kate. She finally got a phone call from Victor, who was still at Collingwood looking for Christopher, who ran off. "Kim, You have to get back here as soon as you can, Victor said, out of breath. Jesus, Victor, I've been trying to get a hold of you. Where are you? A panicking Kimberly said while trying to whisper her conversation. I'm at Collinwood. I used the serum. It worked. Kim, Victor said in an excited tone. Oh my God, where is he? Where is Christopher? Kimberly said, now in a serious tone, realizing the situation was dangerous. Carolyn scared him off. I'm looking for him now. You need to get here. Hurry up, Victor responded as he cautiously searched the foggy grounds of Collinwood. Sorry. Victor, you need to have them all in the same place to get this done. Do you understand me? It will only work if all of the entire Collins family are home. And we end this in one night, Kimberly said, turning to the bar door where Kate was standing and listening. Kimberly held up the phone and looked at Kate, whose internal detective red flags went up. Kate cautiously walked up to Kimberly. Everything okay? She asked. Kimberly took a deep breath and smiled coyly. You know how families are. Right, families can be complicated, Kate answered with a wink. Victor and I are just trying to fix what we did. I'm sure Caleb has filled you in on everything, Kimberly explained. No, not everything actually, but I did notice some tension between you two. Is there something I should know? Kate said, continuing to drill Kim for information. You're not on the greatest terms, Victor. We're not on the greatest terms. Victor wants me to help make things right with the Collinses, mainly with my two sons, but I seem to always come up short in this type of situations, Kim said, fudging the truth. What situations would that be? When you have two kids, I guess you'll understand, Kim replied coldly. I have a brother. I get it. What about Caleb's father, David? Is he out of the picture? Kate asked, her mind still in detective mode. Kim searched for the right words. She wasn't sure just how much Detective Banning actually knew and how much she was trying to extract via Kim. She had to be very careful. After David found out about my affair, he left town. I haven't spoken to him in over 20 years. You can imagine how hard that is for Caleb, his father gone, his mother off, working in some country, not being able to contact him for all these years. Hence the tension, Kim said again, trying to deflect the truth. Well, it seems you and Victor are trying to somewhat patch things up, Kate answered. He's a really good person. Is he now? Kate said, nodding passive-aggressively. Kimberly was up to something, she just didn't know what. But her probing would have to wait as Caleb soon exited the pub and they all made their way to the car and headed to Collinwood. As Kimberly, Caleb, and Kate made their way back to Collinwood, Victor searched for Christopher, who was scared off by the Carolyn's gunshots. Victor moved carefully through the black night and fog, his rifle pointed outward and loaded with a different serum, this time the antidote that would change Christopher back to his regular self. Victor's flashlight spun around the Collinwood grounds that was blanketed by the dense sea fog that clung to the air in a thick, wet mist. Victor walked up. At the property's edge, he stepped closer and saw that was a large opening in the fence, just large enough for the massive werewolf Christopher to charge through. Victor carefully made his way through and continued on in his search, his hands shaking in fear, but Victor tried to convince him it was the cold that caused his shudders. The truth was Victor was terrified. As Victor made his way through the brush and trees, a snarling growl came from his left side. Victor turned towards the sound and pointed his gun toward it. Then the growl started to come from all around him, now as if circling him. "Chris!" Victor said it as if demanding Christopher make himself seen. "Christopher!" he said again. The growl deepened, and from behind the misty fog, two glowing green eyes could be seen, and slowly Christopher in his werewolf form emerged from the fog, walking slowly toward Victor, foaming at the mouth. Victor gasped and pointed the gun at Chris and began to walk slowly backward. "Son, it's me! It's Dad!" Victor said, the gun quaking in his hands. Christopher, whose human side was completely overtaken by the monster he turned into, howled and pounced onto his father, tearing at his clothes. Victor yelled a yell he had never heard come from his body before, and pistol-whipped the werewolf with the rifle, knocking Chris to the ground. Victor, panting and gasping for air, regrouped, but as he stood about halfway up again, the wolf pounced again, knocking the rifle from Victor's hand and breaking the remainder of the vials that contained the antidote. The two wolf son and hunter father fought and beat each other like two wild animals, one as prey, the other as a nocturnal predator. Victor was being choked by the giant paws of the beast, and in his last effort reached up and plunged his thumb into one of the werewolf's eyes, but it was too late for him. His son, the man he created as human and beast, with one single slash of razor-sharp claws, sliced at Victor's throat, leaving him gasping for air. Christopher jumped off his father's body and howled a horrible howl that echoed throughout Collinsport, reaching the column where Caleb, Kimberly, and Kate had just arrived. "What the hell was that?" Kate asked as the three turned in unison in the direction of the howl. Kimberly knew exactly what it was. Her son Christopher in beast form. She helped create that beast with Victor, and now something in the pit of her stomach told her she was wrong. She was frozen in fear. Flashes of the past came in her mind, remembering how it all began. Suddenly, too, the feeling of guilt. Collinsport, 1984. In a small medical laboratory underneath a small house in Collinsport, Dr. Kimberly Collins mixed her potions and serums into vials, marked CR 1984, the initials of her baby son, Christopher Reed, the subject of her new mission. She had taken on her mission with Victor Reed, baby Christopher's father, in hopes that they could save Collinsport from the menacing Collins family, a family that had brought insidious beings to town. Those beings haunt every member of the community. She, in fact, was a member by marriage, marrying David Collins, son of Roger Collins, and had seen firsthand the terrible things that went on in that house of horror, Collinwood. When Victor, an accomplished vampire hunter, proposed she use her scientific knowledge and team up with him to destroy them, all for the sake of their son, she knew it would be a treacherous game, but for her two boys, Caleb, Collins himself, and Christopher, she would do anything. Kimberly's divorce from David was final, and she had recently given birth to Christopher. Now she was free to be his mother and work with Victor in ridding Collinsport of the family that made her miserable. Victor's plot was one of great genius, and would take years to finally perfect and realize, especially because it involved their baby, Christopher, so much, and could only begin to test when he was much older. Victor's idea was this: the most natural way to kill those who bring back the dead are with a lichen. But Kimberly's serums had to somehow mix both that of a werewolf and the lichen, so that when Chris was ready, he would be as powerful as the werewolf, but control his transformations like the lichen, not solely relying on the light of the moon like the werewolf. Once complete, the serums would mimic the effect the full moon has on the body of the wolf, and give him the strength and much more powerful than the lichen. Kimberly and her science would be tested on Chris in various trials for the next 28 years. Baby Christopher would be their chosen one, the one to save them all. "You're going to help us save the world, my sweet Christopher," Dr. Collins said in her laboratory coat and glasses as she picked up her baby to test his serums on human DNA for the very first time. Victor walked in and hugged Dr. Collins from behind. Collinsport, present day. Kimberly shook her head as if to take the terrible thing she had done to her own son away. She was shaken and felt faint, Kate noticing, grabbing her hand. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost," Kate said. Kimberly grabbed Caleb's hand, took a gulp of air. "I need to sit down," she said, the color drained from her face. As they come inside, Leopold had already arrived home and was sitting in the blue room with Alex and Carolyn. "What's happened? Is she okay?" Leopold asking, helping Caleb bring Kimberly to the sofa. I'm fine, Kimberly said, regaining her composure. "There's something terrible out there. We saw it. It was right here and almost killed Alexandra," Carolyn said, bringing Kimberly some water. "We heard it too," Caleb said. Alexandra stayed quiet. She hadn't said anything to anyone about Chris being the animal they heard, or even about Claudia, who had been released from the sarcophagus and was on the loose for that matter. She was too shell-shocked and traumatized. Caleb grabbed Carolyn's gun. "We'll go out there and see what this is," Leopold said fearlessly. "Are you insane? What if it comes after you?" "I saw it. It's huge," Carolyn said, knowing that Alex was with Chris at the time. "We'll be fine. We have to see what it is," Leopold responded, changing the subject back to the hunt and motioning for Caleb to follow. "I'll go with you," Kate said, taking her gun out of her holster. Alex, Kimberly, and Carolyn stayed in the blue room, nervous and impatient, all for different reasons. Kimberly hadn't heard from Victor. She had no idea if Christopher was still out there in his zone as the terrifying animal she helped create, or if Victor had sedated him, and taken him home to lock away until the changing potion wore off. Off to the side, Carolyn was pouring the 3 cups of water to calm their nerves. Alex walked over to her for a private conversation. "I need to talk to you about something," Alex whispered. "What is it?" Carolyn said as she turned her body away from Kimberly's direction. "The woman who changed Daddy into Leopold? Who is she?" Alex questioned, noticing Carolyn's expression change. "She calls herself Claudia, but I'm not really sure who she is and what she wants. Listen, honey, I don't want you to worry. She's gone forever. Leopold made sure of that. You won't have to worry about her doing anything else to us," Carolyn said, trying to comfort her daughter. "I don't think so. I feel her. I feel her all around this place. And she isn't done with us yet, Alex explained dramatically. What do you mean? Have you spoken to her? Carolyn questioned, placing the glass of water down. She's somehow entered my body. She's connected our family. Mother, she's connected to Barnabas. Alex said, unsure of herself and what she knew was truth, only knowing that while possessed by Claudia, she learned there was more to their 18th century cousin Barnabas than Carolyn had ever told her. Carolyn and her relationship with Barnabas was long gone. He had died when she was in her early 20s, and in a way she was happy with this death. All of the horrible memories of life at Collinwood had seemingly gone with him, and now Claudia was reaching back into the past and bringing everything up to the surface. I want you to forget what you're feeling. Whatever Claudia said can't be trusted and can't be taken as reality or truth. She preys on our emotions. Carolyn attempting to console Alex, but Alex knew better. She escaped, Mother, Alex said point blank. How do you know she has escaped? Carolyn asked in a paranoid tone. Christopher, she tricked me. Carolyn paused and put down the pitcher of water she was pouring. Her mind began to race. With Claudia free from where Leopold has put her, locked away in the sarcophagus of Catherine Collins, Carolyn knew there was even more danger to be dealt with. Outside, Caleb, Leopold, and Kate were searching the land around Collinwood in the pitch black at night, guns in hand, the light of their flashlights beaming from their hands like tiny little lighthouses illuminating the wet, frosty grass below. Not a soul in sight. But then, off in the distance, was a shadowy figure. A black mass slumped on the ground. Kate pointed her gun and carefully walked over to it. It was Victor. Kate leaned down the lights from Caleb and Leopold's flashlights now on Victor's body. Kate knelt down and took Victor's pulse, his body cold and ravaged by the beast. She tried again to see if she could find something, any sign of life. He's dead. Alright guys, that's my read-along. So, you have a lot of things going on here, obviously. I definitely love the past, that you finally get what Kimberly exactly did. We knew she was a doctor, but her being this really dangerous scientist who hated the Collinses seemingly, but she loved her son Caleb and she loved her son Christopher, but she uses her son's DNA, injecting serum starting when he was a baby. And I really think, when you play God like that, you're definitely going to get yourself into some deep, deep shit. And that girl got herself into some deep, deep shit. Victor dead. But I enjoyed Victor, even though he's not a long character. But Vampire Hunter, who wanted to bring out a Collins family, I enjoyed that. I do enjoy Kimberly. I don't think she's a cold-hearted bitch. I'm more give that. That award goes to Claudia. God, that woman. But I really enjoyed the werewolf sequences here. You had a lot of things happen because of Christopher's change. Alexander seeing him. Alexander in shock. Carolyn with the rifle. That was cool as hell. Again, the scene setting in this blog has been amazing, and John sets these scenes very, very well. You have the interaction between Victor and Kim before Victor dies, which is key. You have, you know, Carolyn getting a hold of Leopold. You have Kate grilling Kim, which is smart because here's your detective. She's trying to find out what the fuck's going on. So you have a lot of pieces in place that are set up for the very next day. And you have now Victor, who's deader than a door. Now, he was dinner. Okay? He was dinner. But, that sounds so cold to just say, right? It's a review. What do you do? It's fiction. See, it, with fiction, with writing, you can kill anybody and get away with it. But that's a joke. I think it's really interesting how with Kimberly, when she gets sort of guilt ridden, is the moment of a howl. I think she senses things have gone so sideways at that moment. I think she feels it right there in her body. You know, oh shit, we fucked up bad. And she just feels it. And, you know, her being sort of ushered in and, you know, they're trying to, you know, calm her down. They don't know why she's feeling this way. I think Kate suspects something's definitely going on. You know, she was sort of digging at her at the Blue Bell, like, hey, what's this? What's this? And you got the explanation of David. She hasn't seen him in 20 years, which you have a lot of not, and that's what I like here too with this book. If you don't necessarily see somebody from the past, you do hear about them. So you hear about David. We do hear about Barnabas. And I liked earlier when we got a story through Barnabas's eyes. It wasn't necessarily an introduction of Barnabas, but it was a damn sure of a nice nod to Barnabas Collins. And now you have another Barnabas mentioned in this day as well. So, and obviously, listen, Barnabas arrives in chapter in series 3, but fucking awesome. So I'm really excited to get through series 2 in my revisited tour. I'm just so excited to be doing these read-alongs. I'm having a lot of fun doing them. These should be fun. It's just a fun series to go back and follow along and read. I cannot wait till March 9th, guys. I'm excited, and I hope you're excited too, because I can't read till wait to read what John's got in store for all of us. Link is going to be in the description box on YouTube. Link's going to be in the description box for BitChute. I got to get the other video up too, which it's not a review of this blog. It's my Jaws review I did earlier, and I forgot to put it up on BitChute for some reason. I'm getting old. But like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.